Epilogue. Mexico City return. Every time I hit Panama, the place is exactly 1 month, 2 months, 6 months more nowhere, like the course of a degenerative illness. A shift from arithmetical to geometrical progression seems to have occurred. Something ugly and ignoble and subhuman is cooking in this mongrel town of pimps and whores and recessive genes, this degraded leech on the canal. A smog of bomb cakes hangs over Panama in the wet heat. Everyone here is telepathic on the paranoid level. I walked around with my camera and saw a wood and corrugated iron shark on a limestone cliff in old Panama like a penthouse. I wanted a picture of this excrescence with the albatross and vultures wheeling over it against the hot gray sky. My hands holding the camera were slippery with sweat, and my shirt stuck to my body like a wet condom. An old hag in the shack saw me taking the picture. You always know when you are taking a picture, especially in Panama. She went into an angry consultation with some other ratty-looking people I could not see clearly. Then she walked to the edge of a perilous balcony and made an ambiguous gesture of hostility. Many so-called primitives are afraid of cameras. There is in fact something obscene and sinister about photography. A desire to imprison, to incorporate a sexual intensity of pursuit. I walked on and saw some boys, young, alive, unconscious, playing baseball. They never noticed in my direction. Down by the waterfront, I saw a dark young Indian on a fishing boat. He knew I wanted to take his picture, and every time I swung the camera into position, he would look up with young male sulkiness. I finally caught him leaning against the bow of the boat with languid animal grace, idly scratching one shoulder. A long white scar across right shoulder and collar bone. I put away my camera and leaned over the hot concrete wall looking at him. In my mind, I was running a finger along the scar down across his naked upper chest and stomach, every cell aching with deprivation. I pushed away from the wall, muttering, "Oh, Jesus," and walked away, looking around for something to photograph. A Negro with a felt hat was leaning on the porch rail of a wooden house built on a dirty limestone foundation. I was across the street under a movie marquee. Every time I prepared the camera, he would lift his hat and look at me, muttering insane imprecations. I finally snapped him from behind a pillar. On a balcony over this character, a shirtless young man was washing. I could see the Negro and Near Eastern blood in him, the rounded-facing cafe a la mulatto skin, the smooth body of undifferentiated flesh, with not a muscle showing. He looked up from his washing like an animal scenting danger. I caught him when the 5 o'clock whistle blew. An old photographer's trick. Wait for a distraction. I went into Chico's bar for a rum coke. I never liked this place, nor any other bar in Panama, but it used to be endurable and had some good numbers on the jukebox. Now there was nothing but this awful Oklahoma honky-tonk music, like the bellowings of an anxious cat. You're driving nails in my coffin. It wasn't God made honky-tonk angels. If you're cheating, hot. The servicemen in the joint all had that light concussion canal zone look, cow-like and blunted as if they had undergone special GI processing and were immunized against contact on the intuition level, telepathic sender and receiver excised. You ask them a question, they answer without friendliness or hostility, no warmth, no contact. Conversation is impossible. They just have nothing to say. They sit around buying drinks for the big girls, making laugh passes with the girls brush off like flies, and playing that whining music on the jukebox. One young man with a pimply-eyed and know-it-all face kept trying to touch a girl's breast. He would brush his hand away, then it would creep back as if endowed with autonomous insect life. A big girl sat next to me, and I bought her one drink. She ordered good scotch yet. Panama, how I hate your cheating guts, I thought. She had a shallow bird brain and perfect stink-side English, like a recording. Stupid people can learn a language quick and easy because there is nothing going on in there to keep it out. She wanted another drink. I said no. She said, "Why are you so mean?" I said, "Look, if I run out of money, who is going to buy me drinks? Will you?" She looked surprised and said slowly, "Yes, you are right. Excuse me." I walked down the main drag. A pimp seized my arm. I got a 14-year-old girl, Jack, Puerto Rican. How's about it? She's middle-aged already, I told him. I want a 6-year-old virgin and none of that sealed while you wait shit. Don't try palming your old 14-year-old bats off on me. I left him there with his mouth open. I went into a store to price some Panama hats. The young man behind the counter started singing, "Making friends, losing money. This spick bastard is strictly on the chisel," I decided. He showed me some $2 hats. $15, he said. "Your prices are way out of line," I told him, and turned and walked out. He followed me onto the street. "Just a minute, mister," I walked on. That night, I had a recurrent dream. I was back in Mexico City, talking to Art Gonzalez, a former roommate of Albertson's. I asked him where Albertson was, and he said, "In Aguardiente." This was somewhere south of Mexico City, and I was inquiring about a bus connection. I have dreamed many times I was back in Mexico City, talking to Albertson's best friend, Johnny White, and asking where he was. I flew up to Mexico City. I was a little nervous going through the airport. Some cop or immigration inspector might spot me. I decided to stick close to the attractive young tourist I had met on the plane. I had packed my hat, and when I got off the plane, I took off my glasses. I slung my camera over my shoulder. "Let's take a cab into town. Split the fare. Cheaper that way," I said to my tourist. We walked through the airport like father and son. Yes, I was saying, that old boy in Guatemala wanted to charge me $2 for the Baus Hotel out of the airport. I told him, "Una." I held up one finger. No one looked at us. Two tourists. We got into a taxi. The driver said 12 pesos for both to the center of town. "Wait a minute," the tourist said in English. "No meter." "Where your meter?" "You gotta have a meter." The driver asked me to explain that he was authorized to carry airline passengers to town without a meter. "No," the tourist shouted. "I'm not tourist. I live in Mexico City. Sabe Hotel Colmena? I live in Hotel Colmena. Take me to town, but I pay what is on meter. I call police. Policia. You're required by law to have a meter." Oh God, I thought. That's all I need, this jerk should call the law. I could see cops accumulating around the cab, not knowing what to do, and calling other cops. The tourist got out of the cab with his suitcase. He was talking down the number. "I call Policia plenty quick," he said. I said, "Well, I think I'll take this cab anyway. Won't get into town much cheaper. Vámonos," I said to the driver. I checked into an 8-peso hotel near Sears and walked over to Lola's, my stomach cold with excitement. The bar was in a different place, redecorated with new furniture, but there was the same old bartender behind the bar with his gold tooth and his mustache. "Como esta?" he said. We shook hands. He asked where I had been, and I told him South America. I sat down with a Delaware punch. The place was empty, but someone I knew was bound to come in sooner or later. The major walked in. A retired army man, gray-haired, vigorous, stocky. I ran through the list crisply with the major. Johnny White, Ross Morton, Pete Crowley, like Scranton, Los Angeles, Alaska, Idaho, don't know, still around. He's always around. And whatever happened to Allerton? Allerton? Don't believe I know him. "See you." "Nightly, take it easy." I walked over to Sears and looked through magazines. In one called Balls for Real Men, I was looking at a photo of a Negro hanging from a tree. I saw them swing sunny dunes. A hand fell on my shoulder. I turned, and there was Gale, another retired army man. He had the subdued air of the reformed drunk. I ran through the list. "Most everybody's gone," Gale said. "I never see those guys anyway, never hang around Lola's anymore." I asked about Allerton. "Allerton? Tall, skinny kid, friend of Johnny White and Art Gonzalez. He's gone too." "How long ago?" No need to play it cool and casual with Gale. He wouldn't notice anything. "I saw him about a month ago on the other side of the street." "See you." "See you." I put the magazine away slowly and walked outside and leaned against a post. Then I walked back to Lola's. Burns was sitting at a table, drinking a beer with his maimed hand. "Hardly anybody around. Johnny White and Tex and Crosswheeler in Los Angeles." I was looking at his hand. "Did you hear about Allerton?" he asked. I said no. "He went down to South America or someplace with an army colonel. Allerton went along as a guide." "So? How long has he been gone?" "About 6 months. Must have been right after I left." "Yeah, just about then. I got Art Gonzalez's address from Burns and went over to see him. He was drinking a beer in a shop across from his hotel and called me over." Yes, Allerton left about 5 months ago and went along as guide to a colonel and his wife. They were going to sell the car in Guatemala, a '48 Cadillac. I felt there was something not quite right about the deal, but Allerton never told me anything definite. You know how he is. Art seemed surprised I had not heard from Allerton. Nobody's heard anything from him since he left. Worries me. I wondered what he could be doing and where. Guatemala is expensive, San Salvador expensive, and jerkwater. Costa Rica, I regretted not having stopped off in San Jose on the way out. Gonzalez and I went through the where is so-and-so routine. Mexico City is a terminal of space-time travel, a waiting room where you grab a quick drink while you wait for your train. That is why I can stand to be in Mexico City or New York. You're not stuck there. By the fact of being there at all, you're a traveler. But in Panama, crossroads of the world, you are exactly so much aging tissue. You have to make arrangements with Pan Am or the Dutch line for removal of your body. Otherwise, it would stay there under the muggy heat, under a galvanized iron roof. That night, I dreamed I finally found Allerton, hiding out in some Central American backwater. He seemed surprised to see me this time. In the dream, I was a finder of missing persons. Mr. Allerton, I represent the Friendly Finance Committee. Haven't you forgotten something, Gene? You're supposed to come and see us every third Tuesday. We've been lonely for you in the office. We don't like to say pay up or else. It's not a friendly thing to say. I wonder if you have ever read the contract all the way through, a particular reference to clause 6X, which can only be deciphered with an electron microscope and a virus filter. I wonder if you know just what or else means, Gene. I know how it is with you young kids. You get chasing after something, lose it, and forget all about friendly finance, don't you? But friendly finance doesn't forget you. Like the song saying, no hiding place down there. Not when the old Skip Tracer goes out on a job. The Skip Tracer's face went blank and dreamy. His mouth fell open, showing teeth hard and yellow as old ivory. Slowly his body slid down in the leather armchair, till the back of the chair pushed his hat down over his eyes, which gleamed in the hat's shade, catching points of light like an opal. He began humming Johnny So Long at the Fair over and over. The humming stopped abruptly in the middle of a phrase. The Skip Tracer was talking in a voice languid and intermittent, like music down a windy street. You meet all kinds on this job, kid. Every now and then some popcorn citizen walks in the office and tries to pay friendly finance with this shit. He let one arm swing out, palm up over the side of the chair. Slowly he opened a thin brown hand with purple-blue fingertips, a roll of yellow $1,000 bills. The hand turned over, palm down, fell back against the chair. His eyes closed. Suddenly his head dropped to one side and his tongue fell out. The bills dropped from his hand, one after the other, and lay there crumpled on the red tile floor. A gust of warm spring wind blew dirty pink curtains into the room. Bills rustled across the room and settled about his feet. Imperceptibly, the Skip Tracer straightened up and a slit of light went on by the eyelids. Keep that in case you're caught short, kid, he said. You know how it is in these spick hotels. You gotta carry your own paper. The Skip Tracer leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. Suddenly he was standing up as if tilted out of the chair, and in the same upward moment he pushed the hat back from his eyes with one finger. He walked to the door and turned with his right hand on the knob. He polished the nails of his left hand on the lapel of his own worn red suit. The suit gave out an odor of mold. There was mildew under the lapels and in the trouser cuffs. He looked at his hands. About your account. I'll be around soon. That is, within the next few. Skip Tracer's voice was muffled. We'll come to some kind of an agreement. Now the voice was loud and clear. We'll come to some kind of an agreement. The door opened and wind blew through the room. The door closed and the curtains set back, one curtain trailing over a sofa as though someone had taken it and tossed it there.